Welcome to another episode of the Blake Talks Good podcast. I'm your host, Blake Jennings, and today I want to talk about 10 things that I either wish I would have known or was really glad I knew when I started a nonprofit. I started OnRamp back in 2017, started OnRamp National just last year, and I've helped lots of other people start nonprofits, and I've seen kind of this pattern of there's certain things that many people do not know when they start a nonprofit that it would have been helpful for them to know ahead of time. So I'm going to share my top 10 things that you should know if you are starting a nonprofit. Number one, we'll start on a good one. It's actually easier than you think, at least administratively. I know when I was starting OnRamp, I was really nervous and overwhelmed by the thought of starting a nonprofit. In the state of Texas, it's a limited liability corporation that's founded for a nonprofit purpose, and you go get 501c3 status from the IRS, and it seemed like this really mysterious, crazy, big thing. And it actually wasn't. It was actually much simpler than I thought. And nowadays, a lot of the forms and tools are online. You can access them yourself, even without a lawyer. It is much simpler. I've gone through it now 3 times for myself and helped other people go through it. I would encourage you, if you are intrigued about the idea of starting a nonprofit, don't let the administrative side of it hold you back. It's actually much easier than you think, than you expect. And if you'll just take that first step, just, okay, I'm going to start the nonprofit, I'm going to do a little reading online, learn some things, you'll find it's actually a lot easier than you expected. So that's a good one. Second, this one's not so good. People are going to judge you for how you spend your money. Unless your spouse is like a doctor or a lawyer or a CEO, if you're the primary breadwinner in your home, people are going to judge you for how you spend your personal income. If you go and buy a nice house, even if it's with money that like you inherited, people are going to judge you. If you take your family on a fancy European vacation, even if your parents paid for it, people are going to judge you because they don't know that your parents paid for it. People are just going to do that. They're going to make assumptions. Maybe you're skimming off the top. Maybe this whole charity thing is just a way to get rich. Maybe it's a big lie, a big scam. Maybe they don't know how to use money well. People are going to make negative assumptions. For me, what this looks like, I'm a car guy. I always have been. I love to buy interesting cars and fix them up in my garage and enjoy them and then sell them for a profit. But that only works if it's like interesting cars. You can't do that with a Corolla. So I've owned a number of Porsches. I currently own one of those. I own a Lotus. And people see that and it raises questions. And they're thinking, why is the president of this charity that I'm about to give money to, why is he driving around town in a Porsche? What they don't know is that actually all the cars that I buy are old and they're actually quite inexpensive, far less than like going and buying a new F-150. And when I sell them, I make money off them. Like I'm not being frivolous with money. I actually make money off of this hobby, but people don't know that. And so they can make assumptions about it that are really negative about your charity and about you as a person. And I don't know any solution for this. For a long time, I stayed out of this hobby. Like I didn't participate in this thing that I really enjoy because I was worried about what people would think. That was especially true when I was a pastor at a church. And then finally one day I decided, man, I'm done with living in bondage to other people's uninformed opinions about my life. I'm just going to live my life as best I can and let the chips fall where they may. I suggest the same for you. Just live your life. But just realize, I want you to go in with your eyes wide open that people are going to make assumptions about how you spend your money if you start and run a nonprofit. Third thing that I wish I would have known, I didn't know this one, it is incredibly lonely work. It just is. It's very lonely leading a nonprofit. There's a number of reasons for that. I think part of it for me personally is that I'm a male in a female-dominated field. Most people who work in nonprofits on staff are women. I think there's probably a lot of cultural reasons for that, but the fact of the matter is, in a given day when I'm working with people, they will almost all be women. I hardly ever work with guys, and I love the women that I work with. They're amazing. I would definitely call them friends, but there is a disconnect. Just the fact that I don't have a lot of guys that do this thing with me. I think other reasons for why it is so lonely. You go out to a party, you want to hang out with people, like you work in an industry where like you're the buzzkill of the party. Like you're hanging out with your friends and you're having a $50 steak. No one wants to hear you talk about how you're helping the poor not end up destitute. Like what a buzzkill in the middle of a party. So you work in something that like people don't necessarily want to hear about. They don't really like you to be around when they're enjoying life. And so I've definitely noticed that. It was true when I was a pastor too. Like I would often not tell them that I was a pastor because I'm like, this is going to get really not fun really quickly if you know what I do. I think part of the problem is also in nonprofit world and maybe in church world too, is that we don't tend to spend resources on like team building and fun stuff. Like in for-profit companies, the staff will go out to a nice dinner or they may go to a cool conference or who knows? I mean, they may take a big vacation or conference in the Bahamas. That's hopefully not happening in charity world. That's not the norm. And so we tend to not spend money on team building and enjoyable things that would build camaraderie in a group. That just tends to get neglected a lot of the time. I think part of the loneliness is definitely due to the fact that like in nonprofit work, especially if you're leading a nonprofit, if you're a founder of a nonprofit, your friends and peers often become your donors. And then as a result of that, you struggle to be really open with them. I've seen this in my own life. I have some great friends. I love them a lot, but it is always in the back of my mind that like some of these people who are my best friends like support OnRamp and like how open really can I be with how I'm doing today? With this struggle that I have or this doubt that I'm feeling or discouragement or I want to run away or whatever it is, like can I really be myself around them? Or do I need to put on a face and manage the relationship so they have a good opinion of OnRamp and want to keep giving? And even if you decide I don't want that to be part of it, like it's there in your mind. I don't know how to make that go away. Like you are just aware of the fact that this person that I'm friends with is also supporting this nonprofit work that I do. And if they don't continue to support it, I'm going to have a lot to worry about, And so it's just a difficult dynamic. I don't know how else to put it. When your friends are your donors, it does create distance. And so I think there's probably other reasons that I'm not yet aware of, but I am amazed at how lonely it is working in nonprofit work, especially as a leader of a nonprofit organization. It's something to go in knowing I'm going to need to build friendships everywhere I can because it's hard work that's lonely. Number 4, here's a good one. So I've given you a couple negative ones, but number 4 thing that I didn't know ahead of time that I wish I would have known, those who you serve are going to really inspire you. My personal heroes in life used to be like great pastors or presidents or business leaders or inventors. Not anymore. No, my heroes are now some of the clients that we've served who have overcome seemingly insurmountable difficulties and challenges, like done unbelievable things to care for and provide for their family in the midst of challenges that are so much more difficult than I've ever faced. So the elderly matriarch holding her family together, providing for her kids when they're on the razor's edge of being able to put food on the table, they're in danger of poverty, and yet she keeps working incredibly hard, holding on to hope, holding on to her love for Jesus, caring for her family. I am so much more impressed with her than I am of any person who the world tells me, man, that's a powerful person that you should be impressed by. I'm not impressed by any of the powerful people anymore. I'm not impressed by any of the famous people, any of the celebrities or athletes or CEOs. Man, no, they're not impressive. Who's impressive is some of the amazing clients that I have met over the last 9 years of doing OnRamp. They're now my heroes, and I think they're more amazing than me, and I'm just grateful to know them. So I think you'll be surprised by that. You will meet some of the most inspiring people who will absolutely blow you away through this work in charity world. So that's like the good side of this. The next one, number 5, that I'm going to give you is a flip side of that. Those you serve, some of them will disappoint you. Nonprofit work is going to break your heart. There's no way around it. Nonprofit work, especially with those who are needy, those who are poor, those who are addicted, those who are in crisis, there are going to be days where it breaks your heart. If you're human, it's going to deeply hurt you. There are going to be many clients, like I said, who are going to inspire you, but there's going to be others who are going to fall off the wagon. They're going to fall back into addiction. They're going to fall back into old habits or get back with an abuser or give up on a job, or they're going to take the car you gifted them and sell it for drugs. And that hasn't happened often, just once, but boy, did it hurt. There are going to be days in nonprofit world that are just going to break you, because in charitable work, there are no guarantees. Same in church world. There are no guarantees. You are never going to bat 1,000. So you need to be aware of the fact that while some of your clients are going to inspire you and become your heroes and bring you to tears with the victories that they win, there will be others who will so deeply break you and disappoint you and lead you to tears for a very different reason. That's just the reality of it. There's going to be some incredible successes and some incredible lows, and that's just the reality of it. Number 6 thing that I wish I would have known. I had some idea of this from my work at a church, but I've learned it in new ways. Burnout is real. Burnout is real. So many people who go into charitable work, who found a nonprofit or work at a nonprofit, end up getting burned out. And I think burnout happens most often because they don't take to heart a lesson that is actually in an earlier podcast. You can go back and listen to it. It's called Don't Play God. So many people get into charitable work and unintentionally they play God. And what I mean by that is they see themselves as the saviors of a situation, not necessarily out of pride or arrogance. I don't mean that at all. I'm not looking down on them, but they see themselves as necessary. They see these people in need as desperate, and they have to be there. They have to be there to meet this need. And if they don't meet that need, it is their fault and they feel guilt over it. That leads to burnout. If you want to avoid burnout, what you have to realize is that God is the only savior, and the people that you are serving are the authors of their own stories. You are not. You are a bit part in their life. You are an accessory, like a non-playable character. They are the authors of their stories. They're the heroes of their stories, and God is their savior. You are not necessary to them. And so you need to know that. That will help prevent burnout in your life, because if you go in seeing yourself as necessary, as the savior, as the person who will deliver them, it's too much. No human can carry that. And the reality is that even if you were able to do that today, so there was a particular person who you were the savior for them and you lifted them up, you're going to go home and you're going to realize as you drive home that there are 1,000 for every one that you saved. There is more need than you can possibly meet. You will never in charity work go home with everything being done. There is no done in this work because there are still people in need. There will be new people in need tomorrow. So you'll never be done if you see yourself as necessary. But if you will surrender that and see yourself as just a bit part who God can use to help someone in their own journey, that will help you. But burnout is real, and you need to be aware of it. You need to protect yourself from it because it will take you down. That's number 6. Number 7, thing that I wish I would have known. I think I had some idea of this, but I've learned it in even more depth. Nothing will matter more in founding your nonprofit than choosing the right board. That is essential. You need to choose the right people to lead your nonprofit. I have a whole podcast on that, a whole episode. So go back and listen to that episode about choosing the right leaders for your board. As I said in that episode, so many charities and nonprofits and churches make the mistake of inviting into leadership people who have a fat wallet, people who can write a big check, people who are successful business owners or professionals or whatever it is. They have good reputation in the community. They know the mayor, whatever it is. Boy, that's a recipe for disaster. No. You choose the right people by choosing character. That's what matters first. They have deep character, proven character. And I walk in that episode through how I define character, what the hallmarks of the character is that you're looking for. So having the right people in leadership is essential. If you don't have the right people in leadership, it is going to burn you out. It is going to be so painful. Oh, you're going to hate your job if you don't have the right people in your board. And so that's crucial. You got to get it right. All right, number 8. The negatives of work still apply to this work. And I learned this actually when I was a pastor is really when it set in. I had been an engineer before that. And being an engineer in the for-profit world, like you see just a lot of negatives of work. Like there's conflict between boss and employee and between your peers, and there's bureaucracy, and there's all sorts of frustrations that go into work. And we expect that in for-profit world. We get a salary, great, we get money, but there's pain, and it kind of fits together. But you go to work for a church, a ministry, or a nonprofit, and you kind of go in with this naive view that, well, we're all working for a good thing, so work is going to be so fun, and we're going to all love each other, and there'll be no conflict, and we'll be best friends, and it'll all go great. And no, No, it's still a job. It's still a workplace. There's still bureaucracy. There's still conflict. For us on my staff, like we go through books about this, like The Five Dysfunctions of a Team by Lencioni and Crucial Conversations, like how to have hard conversations. We go through these things because we recognize this is still a job. Then all of the difficulties and pain points of a job still apply. And so we have to keep our eyes open to that and be looking for that. Just the fact that you are doing work that is good, that is charitable, does not exempt your organization from all the pain that is part of every job. So just know that. Number 9, I'll keep this one pretty short. Payroll is scary. I was terrified when we hired our first employee, which was actually not me. I was still working at the church. We hired Stephanie Mason, our operations director, part-time. And I mean, literally, I was just laying in my bed that night, just truly terrified. And I've talked to a lot of other people who founded nonprofits and they felt the same way. When you're doing nonprofit work, it's not quite as scary because, like, as long as you have money, you're going to serve people. But if the money runs out, you'll just have to pause for a while and go raise some more money. So you kind of are able to throttle it, how many people you're serving based on how much money comes in. But as soon as you hire someone, like you have to pay them. Like their family is dependent. Stephanie and her husband and her girls, they were like dependent on a paycheck. And so all of a sudden there was this whole new pressure that I had never felt before when I was, for the first time in my life, responsible for making payroll. And we didn't have some big business. Like I had to go raise the money. So you combine like payroll with fundraising, and it's scary. It was one of the scariest, like most anxiety inducing things I've ever been through, was saying yes to hiring someone where I had to make payroll. Be willing to take that step. I'm not calling you to chicken out. I'm not calling you to give up on that. I'm just telling you, be ready for that. Pray hard for that. Get help from other people for that, for raising those funds. But yeah, that was the scariest part of this whole OnRamp adventure, was saying yes to our first employee and realizing I had to make payroll. Last one, number 10, we'll end on a high note. You will almost certainly not regret starting or working for a nonprofit. Now, I say almost certainly not because I'm not God. I do not know you. I do not know your future. So I cannot say with 100% certainty. But what I can say is that for me and for everyone that I've known who started a nonprofit or worked for a nonprofit, I don't know any of them who regret it. It's like, it is hard. There are days that are genuinely painful. There are days when I want to go do any other job, but I don't regret setting up OnRamp. I don't regret starting it. I don't regret working for it. I hope the same is true of my employees, that genuinely they'll look back, at the end of their life on this time when they worked for OnRamp and say that was time well spent. That mattered, and I'm glad I did that. Might not have earned as much money as I would have in the for-profit world, but it was worth it, and I don't regret it. So that's my hope. If you're looking at starting a nonprofit, will your nonprofit work out? Like, will it be in business 10 years from now? I don't know. You don't know. Let's say you only get 1 or 2 years and then just the money stops coming in and you have to shut it down. I don't think you'll regret the 1 or 2 years. Like if you're doing something that matters, if you're meeting a genuine need in your community, if you are truly lovingly, selflessly helping people, you won't regret that. You'll look back on that and say that was worth it. That's what I would say about OnRamp. No matter what our future is. I mean, if OnRamp goes out of business a few years from now, I won't regret this. I won't regret these moments. I won't regret this time. And this opportunity that I had to serve the community in this unique way. I'll leave you with that encouragement. And if you kind of take the first point and the last point, it's like really good news. Just skip the middle. So it's easier than you thought to set it up, and you won't regret it in the end. You'll be grateful that you took that step of faith and started a nonprofit or decided to work at a nonprofit. It really is worth it. So I hope these 10 lessons that I've learned along the way will help you, whether you're starting a nonprofit or looking at working at a nonprofit. It really is worth it. But you need to go in with your eyes wide open about the challenges that you'll face. I hope this will help. It's been another episode of Blake Talks Good. I'll see you next time.